Hey everybody, I'm Oakley at Oka Does Everything, and today we're going to be changing this kitchen faucet into this kitchen faucet. Stay tuned. Now the reason we're changing these faucets out is because although this one is, visually really nice, the water pressure is just really bad. This doesn't have any pressure to move stuff around in the sink, and as you can see, it just dribbles out on the primary stream. So when we bought the house, this is the sink that it came with, and it also has this soap dispenser over here, and we very rarely use it. So we're going to be switching this out for a single stream and a spray hose to go over there. And as you can see, I already cleaned out the sink, so that's kind of the first step. It's just nice to have everything emptied out of it. The second step is to clean underneath the sink. So let's go ahead and clear some stuff out of the cabinet space below. Now just to give you a general idea of the layout of underneath of your kitchen sink, we have a couple things. You may or may not have a garbage disposal. That's what this big thing is here. We also have our exit pipe here that goes to our sewage. And then down here is our hot and our cold water. And typically hot water is identified by a red tube, and cold either doesn't have anything or a blue tube. So like you can see that's blue. Now also, depending where your dishwasher is, you might have your hot water tee off, and so here we have a hot water line that goes over to our dishwasher, as well as electrical wires for both the garbage disposal and the dishwasher. And then here we have this guy right here is actually from the dishwasher, and it is bringing the water out of the dishwasher into the garbage disposal to the exit. So to go ahead and replace our sink, we need to go ahead and turn off the water lines. That way we don't get all wet when we're changing things out. So we'll just give that a quick twist and a quick twist. And now they're off. It will be nice to have some light under here, so I have these Harbor Freight little lights that I actually got for free every time I bought them, so they seem to light everything up pretty well. Now, for unplugging things. So here we have the main faucet point. It has three parts for the water. It's got hot, cold, and then this piece actually comes down and out and then back up again so that you can pull the nozzle out of its harness. And then on either side of it, this piece and this piece over there as well, those are just washers that hold the entire thing in place. And right here we have our bottle for our soap, and we'll be removing all those things. There's two ways we can go about removing the faucet. We can either go ahead and undo our water lines from the faucet and then pull it up through, or we can remove the faucet itself, pull it up a little bit, and then remove the hose. But you can only do that if your hose is long enough and you have enough slack, but I don't think we do. So if you do have enough slack, I would probably recommend doing that if the faucet can go all the way through the holes easily enough. But I'm gonna go ahead and undo these first. You might need a crescent wrench. You will possibly need 2 crescent wrenches. So I'm gonna go get some tools and we'll go ahead and start undoing this. I decided there's a third option, and it is to remove the nuts from the connector pieces down here, and then we can pull the hose up and disconnect it that way. So when you disconnect this, there's probably going to be some water that comes out, so you just want to have some kind of pen here. Now, as you notice, there wasn't really any water that came out because it is closed at the top, and so the air vacuum is not letting it come out. So once we get that hot water one out, we'll go ahead and open the faucet. That'll let the water come out. So just make sure you have something to catch the water. There we go. There's the water. Well, there's the rest of it. While we're under here, we can go ahead and start untwisting that. That one was pretty easy to do by hand, and then the other one over here, likewise, pretty straightforward. And we'll go ahead and remove this. This is a soap bottle. Hopefully I don't get a bunch of soap dropped on my head. Now I got the soap bottle out of the way. Same idea, just twist that off. That's a longer thread than the other ones. So I have a flathead screwdriver, and yes, it fits in there. So go ahead and loosen that up. And we'll go ahead, do the same thing on the other side. And now, this should all just be able to spin out. Alright, so I had to turn off the camera for a minute to do this, but I went and I disconnected that white piece right there from this hose, just so that I can get more space through that ring, because there's not a lot of space to get all those things in. So I disconnected that. Now I'm going to remove this just by undoing those two Phillips head screws. So just loosen that a bunch and pull it over. Should be able to go over to that. If it doesn't, just keep loosening it. It almost seemed like this wanted to prevent it from the screws coming all the way out, so you should have enough room for that to slip over that. And since I have that knob off of this one, I should be able to pull this black hose all the way up and out, and that should give me the rest of the clearance I need to pull that ring down. There we go. Let's see if I can get that ring the rest of the way down. I'm gonna do this off camera. Okay, so I do have to remove this hose, and that's okay that I'm doing it at this point, because with all this loose, I was able to maneuver it around enough to get some crescent wrenches on. And now I'm just slowly but surely undoing it. There we go. And it should slip through there, like that. And can I get this off now? Alright, so I was able to get this disconnected from here. I'll talk about that in a minute. Now, I've said and now a lot, but hopefully now it should be able to get all the way down, around, off, and we can pull it out. This out. So here are all of our parts for the kitchen, and just to summarize a little bit on how to remove it, we disconnected our water lines from the base connector. We then loosened these and took these washers off that hold the faucet in place. You can remove the soap dispenser at any time, and then I loosened this nut and washer up too, and that allowed me to get some wiggling room to move this around to get some wrenches in this tight space that was underneath the sink. You do have to remove both of the water lines, and you have to remove this guy as well, which I believe is the filter to kind of stop any particles from getting into the nozzle. So this piece was wrapped around here, and I just took a flathead screwdriver and pried it up, off, around, and off to the side of it, and that was able to get it loose. Unfortunately, there are little clips that come up here and hook onto a little lip just right there, and I actually had to break those off. I was trying to get it so that I didn't, but they did, and so after you get those little tabs off, you can just pull that out, and then I would imagine you can replace this, just buy a new part for that, and you should be good to go if you end up doing that. We're going to go ahead and set this aside, and we're actually going to go ahead and clean up some of the counter space while we have the faucet off. Here is the new faucet that we'll be installing. It will be a single temperature controlling knob with a separate spray hose, and hopefully this should allow us to get a little bit better water pressure than the last faucet we had. So let's go ahead and open this and see what we need to do to install it. Also, none of the products that I'm using are sponsored by anybody. These are things that we just picked up and are using for our own personal thing. They are no way affiliated to the channel. Alright, now there's two options you can use this. The first option being you can just stick this straight in without having cover plate, and that's only if you don't have the two holes. If you have the single hole, you can just use this straight in and not have to worry about it. But since we have 3 holes there, we're going to use our plate and cover that up. So we're going to use that process. It has different instructions for either way, so just make sure you follow your instructions depending on what options you have for your sink. Okay, so we're just going to put our gasket on there. It's got some holes to line it up with, and then we're going to go ahead and insert our faucet. Now, like I said a couple minutes ago, I wasn't expecting it to come with hoses, but this is nice so far. It does have a hot and a cold already connected or labeled, so that you know what one is which. So we're going to go ahead and feed all this down through the hole. Okay. Now to go under the sink. Now that we're under the sink, we're going to go ahead and take our bracket and our metal nut, and this is going to go over this piece all the way up. Let me do this off camera because I need both hands for this. Alright, as you can see, I have my bracket there and my nut is just on the very end of it. And the cool thing about this kit is they give you a tightening tool, so that way you don't have to figure out how to hand tighten this all the way up there. It gives you an extension so that you can tighten it all the way back down here. So let's go ahead and tighten that nut all the way up, and then we'll use this to secure it in place. Okay, so I do have my nut and my bracket hand tight, but I'm going to go back up and double check to make sure that my plate is in the correct position, and then I'm going to secure it. Alright, I have my plate in place, and now I'm going to take this cool tool and slide it up over that hose all the way up to where that nut is. And now I have it on there, and then I'm going to take a pair of pliers, and as instructed by the instructions, you just go right here and just tighten it down. Like so. Alright, so now we need to take this guy, which is the hose protector, and we're just going to put it on hand tight onto that same spot that we did the last thing you just saw me do. Up next is we're going to put this housing thing for the nozzle in its hole. Now we're going to take our new spray hose and feed it through that housing that we just inserted. Alright, so this next part took a little bit to understand. So we have this piece, this is our diverter, and on here it has, it says spout, and the spout hose that's going to connect there is the same line that we connected the bracket and the nut to. The one that comes off of this orange one. So we're going to come down here, and this is going to get plugged into the side where it says spout pointing to. So we're going to take that little cap off, and then we push it on until we hear a click. I got it on, it got a click, and I pulled against it, and it's securely in place. Also, it has a release on the back here, so if you mess this up, you can push that to release it. Now on the other end, that is where our spray hose is going to go, which is right here. Let's see if I can do this one hand. There we go, got a good click. Alright, so that's there. And then the piece that goes here is this piece, which is sticking out on its own. So let's take that cap off. There we go. Alright, so that is our water diverter all plugged in. Ready to go. So this is secure, everything's in place. Now the next thing we just need to reinsert our water lines. Now, just a reminder that there was a hose that specified that it was hot water, so make sure that that one goes to the hot, otherwise you're going to end up having your stuff backwards. And I got that right here, twist that on, get it started. Do the same thing with the cold one. Now, the nice thing is about these hoses that came with it, they were actually long enough to reach all the way down, so I don't need my other ones to use as extenders. So that is nice. Let me tighten these up. So I have everything connected. We got the water lines connected. We have the diverter and all the hoses going into it connected. So now we can go ahead and turn on our water. When we do this, we're going to be watching for any leaks that might be happening. And if you see a leak, try and find it and then turn your water off so you can address the problem. So let's see. So there's hot water. And here's cold water. Going on. No leaks. That is good. Since there are no leaks below, we're going to go ahead and take the aerator off by hand. And we're going to go ahead and flush the system that way. That was loud, sorry. We're going to run the water, flush any debris that might be in there, and then just kind of get everything going. So, holy smokes. That's exciting. Alright, I'm going to put a hose. So now let's go ahead and put the aerator back on. Oh my goodness. That's exciting. So here it is done, and by comparison, it is so nice. The last one just didn't have this kind of water pressure, and I'm so thrilled that this is finally the case. I do a lot of dishes here in the house, and so I'm just really thrilled to have to not work as hard to clean them, because this thing's going to get rid of a lot of things. And of course, having a garbage disposal, it really goes a long ways. Alright everybody, that's going to be it for this video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you're new to the channel and haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button. It's right there in the middle of the screen. If you want to see other videos with projects like this, I have a playlist over there for you. And other than that, that's going to be it. Have a great day. Bye.